One each. Pick your man. On me!
Hello, knights, lords, ladies, and everyone throughout the land of Ambion, and welcome back to Merlin Weekly. I know I promised you guys at least 2 to 3 weeks, but you guys gotta understand, a lot of stuff's been going on in my real life stuff. Like, the film space got flooded again, and I'm not recording anything in my dining room ever again for Merlin Weekly. That is disrespectful to you guys. Second thing, as you guys probably know from other videos, I've been announcing to everyone that I've been engaged for like the longest time, so I've been doing like wedding plans here and there that are like taking up a lot of time, plus there's stuff with the other videos I gotta do for this YouTube channel, not to mention all the stuff I've been doing for my entertainment label that you guys are gonna be seeing in the next couple of months. It's an exhausting process, and it takes up a lot of time, but I'm finally back to you guys with the season finale of Merlin's 4th series. Let's begin this shebang-a-bang of The Sword and the Stone Part 1 and Part 2, where I'm just going to condense it into all of its key components, because it's a big story and we have a lot of stuff to discuss. So, the main plot synopsis is that everything that's been building up throughout the entire season of betrayals, moles, who you can trust, you can believe, all this sort of stuff culminates into Agravain finally allowing Morgana and her forces that she's been building up through the entire season to try and overthrow Camelot. At this point, it's just like Camelot gets attacked, we get attacks right off, everybody gets about 100 pieces of gold for every single house that gets destroyed. So throughout the lower town all the way up to the Citadel, everybody should be getting like maybe 5,000 gold pieces for their whole tax write-offs. Economic boom, baby! But thanks to Agravain allowing Morgana to go inside and siege the entire place during a time of peace for everybody, Arthur is now officially broken. He started off the day still feeling sad about he and Gwen not getting married because it's like, oh, I could have married Mary Sibley, but now she's on her way to Salem to become a witch. And now I'm all alone with my left hand because I'm probably left-handed, which means that's my pleasure hand. And then Merlin's trying to cheer him up, but as soon as everything starts going to shit, it's all of a sudden just like, my uncle betrayed me? And he's with my half-sister that betrayed me? I don't know what to believe anymore. I should stay and fight. Merlin being obviously the only person watching out for Arthur's well-being besides everybody else that doesn't really make an impact because they're reoccurring characters and no one cares about them. He decides to finally sneak Arthur out with an idiot spell. I wish I was kidding about that. It's an idiot spell, basically. He made him into a simpleton. And then, through the help of Percival, and Elion, and Gawain, and Gaius, he was able to sneak out Arthur at the cost of everybody else's safety. And that one huge bushy-haired guy that no one cares about. But we're gonna move on from him. Following that sort of mentality range, we're going to focus a little bit more on Morgana's story in the entire season finale, which is her trying to rise into power the Uther way, using powerful tactics of undermining your own forces, being sneaky and conniving, using your sexual wiles to manipulate any sort of person of the opposite sex into your affairs. And if you think Uther didn't do that, you're a fucking blind-ass squirrel. This man was probably one of the biggest man whores throughout the entire kingdom of Camelot and Ambion altogether. He definitely was trying to hit it with every single queen he could, just so that he can get an alliance. At least in his younger years before he became old, disgusting, and racist. So, Morgana was basically becoming the female Uther, but it wasn't enough. She wanted to make sure there was absolute power for herself by making sure people didn't have enough food, making sure they didn't have any sort of freedoms or liberties, and putting up illegal underground fighting rings that she would use for the recurring characters as examples of Gawain just trying to feed Gaius, who was dying in the cells, and torturing Elion for information on a very cruel level that honestly would make Uther proud. If only she was starting to kill her own kind, then all of a sudden he'd just be like, bravo, bravo, you are more my child than Arthur ever was. Why didn't I give you the crown? Because honestly, if Uther was alive, he'd probably give her the crown for all this cruelty. But it also gives us another frame of her fear that with Arthur still around, that means HeyItsMeChriss is still around, and it's still an innate fear that's still going to be swarming her in full effect throughout this entire two-parter, where when she sees Old Man Merlin, aka HeyItsMeChriss, aka something something the Dragoon, it goes into a very dark place of her fear-monger self that allows Merlin to do something that we're going to go into in his story arc. But because it's obvious that the villain has to lose at the end of the story, Morgana ends up mortally wounded, and we're like, hooray, the bitch is finally dead, right? No, because one, we still have one more season. Two, Morgana was cosplaying as Bellatrix Lestrange, if you guys look carefully at all the scenes that played out thus far. And three, we have to remember that early throughout the season, we had a new dragon. Aethusa. I don't fucking care what his name is. The white dragon that hatched from the egg that Merlin gave birth to. And the dragon comes back to breathe new life back into Morgana. And then leaves. Meaning that Morgana now has not only a new lease on life, but also a dragon companion that could or could not be a payoff in the final season finale that will be very destructive and, quite frankly, jarring for many people to see a dragon-on-dragon fight that's with a very questionable amount of CGI. If you guys don't know what I mean, look at all the other previous episodes of Merlin, and you'll see what I mean by questionable CGI. But that's Morgana's story and how she fares throughout the entirety, since it's the whole thing of the bad guy has to lose, but wait, we have to give him a huge power-up because we gotta do anime with it, yo. Let's focus on Arthur's whole story in this, where it starts off with him being in a place of self-doubt. That doesn't go away at all throughout the entire two-parter. The entire season has made him question everything and everyone in his wake. He's made a lot of rash decisions, tried to grow a lot, but made a lot of big mistakes that made him second guess whether or not he's a worthy king. And this whole takeover of a coup didn't help matters, since now he was betrayed by his uncle, even though a lot of people try to tell him it's his uncle. He's now in that whole spiral of it's his own fault that his people have failed, it's his own fault that Camelot is now on the brink of destruction, he's not a worthy king, and it doesn't help when he meets Tristan and Isolde, who are pretty much like the better version of Lancelot and Guinevere's story before it was adapted into a completely nice love triangle that was ruined in this season of Lancelot, Arthur, and Guinevere, obviously. But with Tristan and Isolde coming in as smugglers that hate royalty, hate the crown, hate everything, and feel like the King of Camelot is a moron, incompetent, doesn't care about his people, it sends Arthur into a bigger spiral when he gets off the idiot spell and sees himself in a different, darker light that we haven't seen from him in a while. We haven't seen him doubt himself in a giant spree of him being a strong king but not really understanding his motives. Him being in a giant spiral of self-doubt that we don't see often because he's supposed to be the cocky one, the brave one, the one that knows what he's doing, even though he doesn't know every step of what he is doing. He's young and inexperienced, but he feels like he can take on the world in a vibrant storm. And this two-parter is the opposite of the Arthur that we know in Merlin. He's very doubtful, he's very sorrowful. Even though he's still a snarky little asshole, he's still just on that whole spree of, maybe I shouldn't be king. Maybe I shouldn't have trusted anybody. Maybe I shouldn't have fallen in love. Maybe I shouldn't have given all this trust to my uncle. Maybe the whole country of Camelot itself is doomed because I wasn't strong enough or well prepared enough or more seasoned enough. Maybe I should just end things here and never return to Camelot. Maybe just go over to Lot's kingdom and say, the kingdom is yours now. Do what you wish with it. There were a lot of emotions spiraling into this, but it's thanks to all the people that came into his life, but especially his advisor of Merlin, even if he never says it's his advisor, goes to his defense to tell him why he is a good king and makes up a very poignantly well done adaptation to the original story of Camelot's first king of Bruta, reuniting the kingdoms, and then just adding in the Sword of the Stone bit, which is what everybody knows from the original Arthur mythos, where Arthur was supposed to be crowned the successor to Uther, or the original king of Camelot, no matter what depiction you're looking for, where he pulls the sword out and he's deemed the successor to Camelot, the once and future king of the entire land of Ambion. That was a very nice, touching send-off to the original mythos and paid off a lot better than anticipated. Even when on rewatches, it's very well paced out and the reward is amazing. Because we've seen Excalibur throughout the entire season, from season 1 all the way to season 3, and season 4 it's just like, where is Excalibur? Because they have a sword in the stone thing. Is it going to be a different sword? Is it going to be Excalibur? What is it? And then when it finally pays off, it's delicious payoff from actual build-up, actual development about the importance of the sword, being born from magic, as well as being forged by man. The perfect marriage of what the series is all about. Might and magic. Sword and sorcery. Arthur and Merlin. You see what I mean about that whole payoff thing? But we're getting to that in a different season. So, with that being the case, Arthur is now fulfilling his destiny to now be the once and future king with a brand new resolve, brand new fire, even though he's still not trusting Guinevere, because for the love of God, does anyone check any past evidence or try to go back through old memories to see what the fuck was actually wrong? Because Gwen didn't do anything. She was manipulated into what is technically classified as date rape. She didn't do things on her own volition. It was like she was roofied into infatuation. Stop making us feel bad when she did nothing. So yeah, he still is mad at Gwen, and then he's trying to then go back to face everything in Camelot, being like, I am the real king, get out of my throne, Morgana. And it goes throughout the entire thing of taking back the citadel, taking back the castle itself, and then we get into the brother-sister moment where we get to see the duality of the two siblings. The half-sibling being obviously more Uther than anything, but Arthur becoming his own man. And that kind of upsets Morgana more than what's led on, because in essence, even though she says that Arthur is more like Uther, I think it's more her projecting her own insecurities and her own maliceness onto Arthur. Because she wants to say that Arthur hates her kind, her magical beings throughout every inch of Ambion. But if we go through all the evidence, with one, Merlin being the guide to Arthur to be more open-minded about the possibilities about other people in the kingdom looking out for him. And then two, Gaius trying to tell him more options to be more open-minded. Arthur was willing to do stuff to make magic more viable and to have the magical beings come back more slowly. But thanks to bad writing, because Morgana didn't think farther enough to be like, if my brother succeeded in bringing back my father, I can obviously kill him. He can only blame me and not other magical beings, and all of my people would be free in Ambion. Which is why I hated the episode of when Arthur lost his father Uther, because they didn't think that clearly, but we'll go over that later. And so, in essence, it's Morgana's whole fault that magic is still banned in Camelot no matter how you slice it, because she didn't have to do the whole curse thing onto Uther. She literally could have just sat back, had Merlin do his thing, and then her people would have been freed. Slowly but surely, obviously, but they still would have been fucking freed. I don't fucking get it. And then hijinks ensue of a huge battle in the castle with Tristan and Isolde finally fighting alongside Arthur after part 2 happened, where now it's just, what do we do now? How do we make sure that Arthur comes back to Gwen? Well, we do the tragedy route of Tristan and Isolde, where either Tristan or Isolde herself get killed in a very poetic manner that is very befitting about character growth. This time, it was Tristan losing his lover Isolde, and thanks to that catalyst, we now have Arthur, after taking back all of Camelot thanks to the thing with Morgana being defeated, of him being like, Gwen, I don't care what happened. I don't care about trying to actually look for evidence to clear your innocence sooner than before. I don't care about trying to be smart and be like, you didn't wear a bracelet before. Maybe something weird happened. Maybe it was a trap by Morgana after all. I just want us to get married and then rule the kingdom as husband and wife. Because sure, we shouldn't have people just trying to be like, let's explain ourselves because this was a weird plot thread to throw in that made no real sense being shoved in. let's just get Gwen exiled to make stuff very weird and have just an Elion doesn't trust the crown moment. Now, this is very smart writing. But we're gonna move on from my disdain with that storyline, along with the whole poorly executed way to kill off Uther thing, to then focus on my favorite part of the story, the Merlin story, because he's our titular character. With Merlin, he didn't have to have as much character development as he should have throughout the entire season, but he fucking did! And it was amazing at every turn. This kid went from this one shy farm boy that hated everything about Arthur, hated everything about trying to be in Camelot, hated how the entire kingdom hated his people, hated every single inch of having to deal with the dragon, didn't want to do anything with Gaius, didn't even care about his destiny, and look at where he has developed now. He's trying to be an advisor to the now king, once and future King Arthur, Pendragon. He was his own badass warrior, taking out several soldiers in his wake with the sword and with his magic, trying to make sure that he kept Arthur safe numerous times and kept his own family safe when he went to Eldor to make sure that Arthur didn't get kidnapped. And when it finally came down to him taking out Agravain and his soldiers, he made sure that everyone knew that he was Emrys, that no one should fuck with him, killed Agravain with no remorse, and then he didn't even stop there. He was the rebuilding fire for what Arthur would now become a better king for. He made sure to set up the defeat of Morgana with a voodoo doll, made sure to set up that everything about the insurgents to take back the kingdom went off without a single hitch. This man is a G. No one even gives him any recognition or gratitude or thanks in character for the show. But this man did more than either of these two characters on an actual level that is purely good development without having to be spelled out for you. The development spoke for itself throughout every step of the way. From you just remembering the boy he was to where every finale makes you just like, Merlin's becoming a man. He's becoming an actual adult. I can finally see him becoming the Wizard of Legend, the one that's helping all of Camelot become a better place, the one that will guide Arthur into a better future, the one that will safeguard him when he goes to Avalon. This is the story that we are driving for, and we're finally getting the payoff for it in delicious manners. Sorry, I'm a little hungry. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. But even still, do you guys see how well executed this finale was over the entire mess that is season 4? There are a lot of bad episodes we can go over in my own personal opinion, because they were bad executed, had bad payoffs, had bad red herrings, and then led off to shitty executions. But the payoff in the season finale makes it all the more worthwhile in a more adult sense. Because it's no longer a safety net of, and peace was restored, and things became back to normal, and nobody ended up with any lasting repercussions, and nobody had an actual development range. It actually goes forth to spell out how these characters have shaped the world around them, how they shape themselves into what is setting up to be the quote-unquote endgame of the series. And it's beautiful beyond compare. Sword in the Stone may not be my favorite season finale of all time of Merlin, but it's definitely one of the best collection of episodes that has ever been filmed, executed, and written for its time with where it came out as a send-off homage to Smallville. This is an amazing two-parter that I want everyone to watch in grand detail before we begin next week with Series 5, since we've been taking a couple of weeks off to do some stuff. And with that, guys, I'm gonna go get something to eat, but first, I wanna make sure that you all know that after Season 5 is done, we're still doing the fan-made Season 6 season, and then we're gonna be opening up some sort of poll for you guys about what we should be doing next for the Tuesday reviews things. It could be me covering Twin Peaks because I gotta re-review it anyway. It could be me doing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, finally. It could be me going back to being human. It could be me doing Black Sails because I've been falling in love with the show. It could be me doing American Gods. We could do a lot of stuff. I'm really enjoying doing this stuff for you guys weekly because it allows me to take a break from the serious videos I do to just be a big fan with you guys. It makes it all the more worthwhile and fun and be very energetic like I like to be. But we'll get into that after we're done with seasons 5 and 6 of Merlin. So to all my knights, lords, ladies, and even my dragonborn speakers, and even my secret little fae throughout the entire woods, throughout every inch of Ambion, I'll see all you guys next week with more Merlin motherfucking Weekly! I'm way too hype right now.
You crazy mother...